Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantamanapaityam Apaitya Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tammayatayo Taravo Benedustam Sarvabhutam Hridimanatoshmi. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nityalila, Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our most beloved, Nityalila, Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all our illustrious Rupanuga, Guru Vargya, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. So continuing with our nectar reading of Jaiva Dharma, which, as we said yesterday, contains, as if in a jar, all the ocean has been placed. All the essence of all Shastra is here in Jaiva Dharma. The more we study it, even though it's very dense, we can say, it's intense in some places, especially in these early Dashamulas, but it's Tattva and Siddhanta that we should be earmarking for future reference if we haven't been able to digest it all immediately. At least we should know that these truths exist and where they exist. So we should know, where Maya Tattva, where Krishna Tattva, Shakti Tattva, Rasa Tattva, where they all exist. So now we're into the last 4 verses of the Falshruti. Jaiva Dhamma Pateshe Shura Bhakti Hoy, Jaiva Dhamma Napadile Kavi Bhakti Noy. One who reads Jaiva Dhamma with faithful deliberation will surely attain Shuddha Bhakti. But one who does not read Jaiva Dhamma can never attain Bhakti. We can attain Shuddha Bhakti because Jaiva Dhamma will direct us to take association, to take higher association. You can't gain it just by reading Jaiva Dhamma. But Jaiva Dhamma, if you read it with faithful deliberation, it will direct you, take shelter of the sadhus. And if you follow the instructions, then you can attain Shuddha Bhakti. But just reading it separately, alone, if you're living in the jungle, in a forest, and you're just reading this without any sadhu sangha, it'll be very hard to comprehend the sweeter truths. The sweeter truths are in the relationships, and that's what sadhu sangha can open this door. Because if we have tattva, it's like information in a sense. But when we have sadhu sangha, then the heart can start to melt. We come out of the head and we come into the heart, and we develop these relationships where, what we say, swajatya snigdha ashraya. This swajatya, same mood, and snigdha, affection, and ashraya, more senior. So we seek that type of, so this is where Jaiva Dhamma will indicate us. But it's not just by itself. This is not the meaning. Rupanuga abhiman patidrita hoy, Jaiva Dhamma vimukake dharma hine koi. Faithfully reading Jaiva Dhamma will surely strengthen one's abhiman as a Rupanuga, follower of Rupa Goswami. When we say follower of Rupa Goswami, this means a follower of Sachinandan Gaurahari. Rupa Goswami is that main personality who gave us Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, they are giving us Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu only gave the Shikshastikam. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in particular has bestowed so much mercy by giving us such a window into the life of Mahaprabhu, especially here in Jagannath Puri, the last 12 years of his life, when the intensity of separation that he was tasting, that Vipralamba Bhav, built to such a high level. So we can taste that here through the readings and teachings of Rupa Goswami. This is what it's saying. Strengthen one's abhiman as a Rupanuga, because this is the condensed teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One who is averse to reading Jaiva Dharma is certainly devoid of religious principles. What more can you say? Yava jivane je pada Jaiva Dharma, bhaktiman se jana vrita jnana karma. One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma throughout his entire life, it's not just a one-time in. For the rest of our lives, if you're getting anything from these readings we're doing together, we should make a resolve that every day of my life, for the rest of my life, I should read at least a paragraph or a page of Jaiva Dharma and keep in touch with Jaiva Dharma. Scroll through the various truths. I've done many times, went through the first 12 chapters and earmarked them so we can remember. The first chapter is Sannyasi Thakur meeting Premdas Babaji, and he's asking about the vastus. He's asking if religion is one, why are there so many different descriptions of Dharma? So all of this is so important to understand. So he's explaining that. And then the second chapter, he's asking that beautiful question about if the jiva is infinitesimal, how can he be eternal? If he's so small, how can he be and how can he be a part of Krishna if he's so small? Then this is answered beautifully by Babaji Maharaj. So these are the first two chapters. And then the third chapter, then now Sannyasi Thakur is Vaishnava Das Babaji. And he's answering to Lahari Mahashai, who's asked a question about Sandhya Vandanam. He's asked a question about the Brahman traditional worship. Why is that not Vaishnavism? And then these are such important topics to know, to have clear. You know, what is the distinction between the smarter Brahmins and the Vaishnavas? If we don't know this distinction, everything will become blurred, because there are many writings by these different persons, and we can be impressed by some of the Brahminical behavior and so on. But if it's not focused on absolute Siddhanta, it's not going to take us in the right direction. And then the fourth chapter, Lahari Mahashai is taking shelter of Vaishnava Das. Yes. Now he's Vaishnava Das Babaji. So that's the fourth chapter. So have these chapters clearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what is it? Chapter 5 is when Lahari begins to instruct his son, Devi Das. And then Devi Das becomes bewildered when he sees how friendly and what honor the Vaishnavas are giving to the Muslims. And he becomes very disturbed by this. So he gathers all these Brahmins together in the 6th chapter, and the Brahmins debate with the Vaishnavas. And again, Vaishnava Das Babaji is refuting all of their doubts about Vaishnavism. What is the nature of Vaishnavism? Such important teachings. So that's the 6th chapter. 7th chapter is Damayanti and Chandidas. This is like a story of a regular couple who get ripped off by their kids and so on. And then they come to Navadvip Dham, and by the potency of the Dham, they're inspired towards devotion. And then they go and take shelter of the sadhus. Yadava Das takes them to the Babajis, and it's Ananta Das Babaji who's speaking to them about the principles of Vaishnava understanding, that the distinction between matter and spirit, basically. So this is in the 7th chapter. Then the 8th chapter is the Vaishnava etiquette between what is Kanishta, what is Madhyam, and what is Uttam. So we should know, we should have some, this is just like, this is not necessarily bhakti, but it's a support. If we know this book, if we start to know it like that, then we feel comfortable in it. And then the truths can be revealed more fully because we've developed a familiarity with it. So that's the 8th chapter. 9th chapter is Digamba. This materialist comes and battles. Now Lahari Mahashaya has become Advaita Das Babaji. And this is a remarkable chapter where we get materialistic science, so to speak, attacking the Vaishnava civilization. And this is beautifully purified by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The 10th chapter is the history, the authenticity of Vaishnavism. That Nyaya Ratna, he goes to speak to the Babajis. He wants to know, is this a recent religion, this Vaishnavism? Previously, the Brahmins were collecting so much remuneration. Now, since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all our money stopped coming. And we don't like that. So he came with an aggressive sort of mood, a challenging mood. But still, the Vaishnavas, they reconciled all his arguments. So that's in the 10th chapter. 11th chapter is when the Muslims come. And it's a whole discussion on deity worship, Thakur deity worship, which is fascinating. Why is the deity considered not stone? Why is it real? Because those saints, those sadhus, they saw that the deity was revealed in their meditation. And from that revelation, in their samadhi bhasya, from that revelation, from their heart, Krishna is revealing his form. And then they are directing the carver, or they are carving themselves, like Rupa Goswami, he carved deities. Jiva Goswami, he also. Lokanath Goswami, those deities manifested straight to him. Bihari, Bihari, Radhan Vinod Bihari. So all these deities were revealed. And then the 12th chapter is the introduction of the main character, is Brajanath. And his discussion and connection with Raghunath Das Babaji. And very purifying, beautiful, intense chapter. And then the 13th chapter, the Dasmula begins. Yes. And we start off with just the Amnaya is being explained. There's many verses. The whole Guru lineage is spoken. And the Mayavad precepts are purified. And this is all coming from the Vedic teachings. This is in the 13th chapter, the beginning, Amnaya Praha. And then in that same chapter is what's that? Harim Tattvam.
Param. Yeah.
That Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it concluded with the qualities of Krishna, the 64 qualities, etc. So this was the 13th chapter. Now we're in the 14th chapter. We've already dealt with Shakti Tattva. Now we're dealing with Rasa Tattva. So have an appreciation of the entirety and the consistency and what it's actually benefiting, how it's giving us so much truths. So try to keep the whole subject matter there. Like with Srimad Bhagavatam, when we go through Bhagavatam, we like to recite all the different, like 19 chapters in the first canto, 10 chapters in the second canto, etc. We scroll all the way through the whole Bhagavatam, so we get the complete picture. So this way, a greater familiarity develops with the text. And then naturally, we feel more relaxed with the text and we can go deeper with it. So,
one who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma. 13th verse.
Yeah, I did. One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma throughout his entire life. Yes, that's what I'm saying, entire life. That means you become familiar with it. Like that, it becomes your friend. If this Jaiva Dharma is your friend, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is your friend. Bhaktivinoda Thakur can enter your heart, Kamala Manjari. He can come into your heart and very quickly bring you into the Kunja with Srimati Radhika. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has that ability. That's his intention. That's what he wants to do. Throughout his entire life will be endowed with bhakti and will surely realize the futility of jnana and karma. So jnana and karma are the supports for bhakti. Two types of jnana we accept: tat padartha jnana, knowledge of Krishna, and tvam padartha jnana, knowledge of the Jiva.
Jiva.
So these two types of knowledge we accept. And Jiva Brahma Aikya Gyan, knowledge of Brahm, we don't have any need for. So we reject that. And karma, what need do we have for karma indulgence? We are more than nishkam karma. We're beyond nishkam karma. But we appreciate these karmas where karma will lead to gyan. Gyan will lead to mukti. We discussed that chapter.
Yes.
Actually in chapter 12. Remember, bhukti, mukti,
Mukti and
bhakti.
bhakti.
These three paths. So I'm saying all this because I want you also to get as familiar with this text as I become over the years. And then you'll feel qualified to speak on it for a start. But more than speaking on it is entering into the topic. Speaking on it is like secondary. The main thing is to actually enter into these topics internally. Krishna Ramala Seva Lavi Senara Seva Sukhe Magnanaha Raha Sada Krishna Para. Such a man, being fully devoted to Sri Sri Radha Krishna Yugal Kishore and having attained their Amala Prem Seva, remains forever merged in the bliss of such immaculate loving service. This is the conclusion. The conclusion is Nimai Das Babaji in this book. Nimai Das Babaji originally was Vijay Kumar. He's the second character will be introduced in about the 17th or 18th chapter. And he's the uncle of Brajanath. And he's the one who goes the whole path of Rag Marg. And he becomes Nimai Das Babaji, and he ends up sitting on the beach here, just chanting his Harinam all day, accepting a little bit of Madhukari, and his Doran, Kopin, etc. And this is the example of the goal, the attainment of the goal, to enter into that Amala Prem Seva. That means you give up all material conception. You actually reside in your spiritual consciousness in full transcendental service to Radha and Krishna. That's what the goal is. That's what this Jaiva Dharma can gift us. So yesterday we were discussing the glories of Krishna as in Rasa Tattva. And again, we were saying the appreciations of Achintya Bhav.
Yes.
Again, this was being that it wasn't by learning, etc., that we can acquire this, but it's by the Avaroha Panta, the mercy that descends.
Yes.
So these topics were discussed yesterday. So we're on page 322, correct?
323, top, Rajna.
So I want to read halfway down 322, just to recap. So we'll leave the verse. And, O Lord, one who attains even a little of your mercy, of your two lotus feet, can comprehend the essence of your transcendental glories. This is why we are performing sadhana, to receive mercy, to understand these topics. We perform this sadhana bhajan so that we can invoke the Lord's mercy.
Yes.
We try to regularly go and see Thakurji. We try to regularly chant our mala. We try to regularly render service to the Vaishnavas in order to invoke the mercy from the Lord. We can't move without his mercy. O Lord, one who attains even a little of your mercy, of your two lotus feet, can comprehend the essence of your transcendental glories. Others cannot realize the essential truth of yourself, even though they may keep searching for you for many years through Gyan and Vairagya. In other words, the path of a Gyani, or a Bhakta, or a yogi, they can't actually attain this Amala Prem Seva. The Gyani's fruit is going to be mukti, and the yogi's fruit is going to be paramatma realization. So neither of those realizations, the goal is not active. Paramatma is not variegated in his features. It's the same in all. We've discussed that at length. So you can't really have a significant relationship with Paramatma. The yogis who realize Paramatma, they realize their own mystic cities simultaneously. And they relish their own cities more than they're relishing the personality. I read a book once by a yogi, and in his deep meditation, he sees a little blue pearl. And inside the little blue pearl, he sees a little blue boy. And he thinks, oh, that's me. How tragic. If he had had the ability to worship that little blue boy, yes, then what a enormous realization he would have had. But instead, yes, the perversion of this material world made him think it was himself, because that is why this world is perverted, because we throw everything onto us rather than extend our vision to Krishna. My son, my Prabhu is very munificent. That Sri Krishna, who is the soul of all souls, cannot be attained by reading or hearing various shastras or by arguments and discussions. Nor can he be attained through sharp intelligence or by accepting several gurus. I know sometimes on Facebook, I hear about that they have all kinds of discussions and debates. And many times it's kind of like futile. Why are they discussing these topics? They don't know what is the truth of the topics. Like they discuss whether the jiva is inherent or whether he has inherited his swarup, etc. So all we have to do is chant and listen to Guru reveal the truth of these topics. But to discuss them generally, like Facebook is a public platform. Who are you going to be discussing with? Someone who's doing all kind of nonsense, but thinks he's proud enough to make an opinion on some very sensitive topic. And it's going to become very strange. Nor can he be attained through sharp intelligence or by accepting several gurus. That means you have one guru, he doesn't give you what you want, you go to another guru, he doesn't give you what you want, you go to another guru, like that. Only one who accepts him as my Krishna can attain him, that mamata. He will only manifest his transcendental Satchidananda form to such abhaktas. When we analyze the Abhideya Tattva, you will be able to understand these truths easily. So we haven't actually reached the Abhideya Tattva yet. That'll come in 18 and 19 chapters. So he's holding that back a bit. Rajanath, are the names of Krishna's abodes written anywhere in the Vedas? This is where we reached yesterday. Babaji, yes, names such as Paravyoma, Brahma Gopal Puri, and Gokul are found in several places in the Vedas. For example, the Svetashvatara Upanishad says,
Richokshare parame vyoman yasmin devadhi vishve nishedu yastanna ved kim richa karishyati ya etad vidusta imet samasate.
One must know that infallible Akshara, Brahm, who resides in the abode called Paravyoma. He is the subject matter of the mantras of the Rig Veda, and all the devatas take shelter of him. One who does not know that Parama Purush cannot fulfill any purpose through the Vedas. In other words, if you don't worship the Supreme Lord. However, one becomes blessed who realizes that Paramatma in accordance with Tattva. In accordance with Tattva. We can't do it on a In this Kali Yuga, people are very proud of their own minds and intelligence and speculation, etc. And they just gallop into different places of consciousness without proper foundation or without a platform. And therefore it's very bewildering. And if people are weak, which people are in this age, then they start following people like that. Then all of a sudden you have a whole apasiddhanta, like the jiva falling from Vaikuntha, from the spiritual. This is a complete apasiddhanta. Or like taking shelter of Prabhupada when you're not a Prabhupada disciple. This Ritvik movement is a complete opposite. It's something that has arisen from Kali Yuga because they haven't had a stern guru at the helm. Prabhupada never said that Jiva fell from Vaikuntha. He says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is a fact. In 7th canto, 1st chapter, verse 35, first paragraph, he says it a fact. It is a fact. Therefore, it is a fact that no one falls from Vaikuntha. This is what he says. But we want to twist it around to fit some other purpose, so that's called apasiddhanta. Mind is very fickle. In the Mundaka Upanishad 227,
Divye Brahma Pure hi Esha Vyomni Atma Pratishtitah.
that Paramatma eternally resides in the transcendental Brahmapur in the form of Paravyoma. It is said in the Purush Bodhini Shruti,
Gokulakhe Mathur Mandale Dve Parshve Chandravali Radhika Cha.
in the area of Mathura called Gokul, Srimati Radhika is situated on one side of Bhagavan and Chandravali on the other. Radha and Chandravali are sisters, in fact, but for Leela, they've become different families. But in fact, they are, because without the opposition party, it can't accentuate the ruling party. The ruling party is Radhika. She's Swapaksh. So without the Vipaksh, it doesn't get accentuated without the opposition. So there must be the two for the meeting and the separation. Meeting cannot manifest without the nourishment of separation. It has to be there. It's an ingrained part of the Leela. It is stated in Gopal Tapani Upanishad,
Tasam Madhye Sakshat Brahma Gopal Purihi.
Brahma Gopal Puri is situated in the middle of the group of transcendental abodes. Rajanath, why do the tantric brahmanas call Shiva's potency Durga? Babaji, the deluding potency, Maya Shakti, is called Shiva Shakti. Maya has three modes, namely Sattva, Raja, and Tama. So someone might have difficulty in appreciating this, that how can Sattva be in Maya? Many people who are following a spiritual path have a very sattvic life. Sattvic life means you're perhaps living in the country, you're eating pure foodstuffs, maybe you have a cow, you live very simply. This is like a sattvic life, but that is still shackled to the gunas. Just because it's sattvic doesn't make it spiritual. If it's Shuddha Sattva, then it's spiritual. But just a sattvic lifestyle is not indicative of spiritual life. There's a sattvic shackle, there's a rajasic shackle, and there's a tamasic shackle on the jiva. So you can be shackled by sattva gun, trying to do everything very clean, everything very nice, having a whole sattvic environment. But it's still not necessarily spiritual at all. This will be explained. Brahmanas in the sattvic mode worship Maya in a pure way, in the form that embodies sattva gun. That's what I've just said. They worship the material energy to make a sattvic environment for themselves. It's still Maya because it's still under the modes of material nature. Even if you are all clean and you are purifying everything and you are chanting mantras, unless you've connected through transcendence to Shuddha Sattva, it's still Maya. So it's saying here, these brahmanas in the sattvic mode worship Maya. They worship Maya. They make a nice arrangement in the material world. Yes, we have cows, we have this and that and the other. It doesn't mean you're God conscious. It just means you're not being affected by Rajagun and Tamagun, but you're being affected by Sattva gun. And Sattva gun can be very attractive. So you become attracted still to this material world, looking for some pleasure in the material world through sattva gun. Brahmanas in the rajasic mode worship Maya in the form that embodies Rajagun. What is that? I meet so many Brahmins and they have opened hospitals. They've had all kinds of, Rajas means passion, business, you know. All of these hospitals in India, there's so many of them, it's like a disease. It's a good money-making business these days. Brahmanas are very smart. They've got a calm intelligence that can calculate. So they can calculate business options also. So that's what it means, Brahmanas in Rajasic mode. They will open hospitals, etc. They will open all sorts of ashrams, etc. if they want to make money. So this is Brahmins who are controlled by the Rajasic mode. Not all Brahmanas are controlled by the Sattvic mode. Many we see. You know, Mr. Gupta is in charge of this particular hospital. That's a Brahmin name. He's a Brahmin. But he's in charge of the hospital, doing all the management, etc., like that, making a whole lot of money. It's Rajasic. Rajasic means this creativity, mood. That's what passion is. Musicians are passionate. Artists are passionate. Lord Brahma was passionate. He created this whole universe. He's the guna avatar for Rajagun. Vishnu is the guna avatar for Sattvagun. But it's still a guna. If you're under the gunas of Sattva or Rajas, you're under the gunas, right? It's easier to understand under Rajas than Sattva. But appreciate that under Sattva gun, you're still under the gunas. And Brahmanas in the tamasic mode worship Maya in the presiding deity of darkness, Tamagun, taking ignorance to be knowledge. So we see many Brahmanas today, they actually indulge in liquor business and all sorts of things. I met on a train the other day. One man said, "Oh, I'm a Brahmana." I said, "Oh, what do you do?" He said, "I run the liquor stores." Yeah. So this is a Brahmana under the mode of Tamagun. So they do like this. All the gunas will affect everybody in existence. And this is the topic that we're going to open out a bit more now. Ignorance, Tamagun, taking ignorance to be knowledge. Yes, because they're ignorant, but they still think I am knowing everything. Oh, I am knowing all these things. But this is ignorance. In fact, Maya Shakti is only a name for the transformation, vikar, of Bhagavan's Para Shakti. Maya Shakti is just a transformation. In the Jiva, if we look quickly here on page 336, there's the question asked by Brajanath, is there any material component in the Jiva's original constitution? In other words, is Maya within our original nature? Babaji says, no, the Jiva is created solely from the Chit Shakti. He can be defeated, that is covered by Maya. Maya has two potencies, Prakikshatmika and Avaratmika. Prakikshatmika means pulling down or covering. Avaratmika means covering. And Prakikshatma means pulling down or throwing. These two words. You can find them on Google, but we should know these two words. Yes. Prakikshatmika and Avaranatmika. These are very useful descriptions of how Maya acts on us. When the Jiva, haven't got that yet. In fact, Maya Shakti is only a name for the transformation, vikar, of Bhagavan's Parashakti in the form of its shadow, chaya. The shadow of Parashakti, the shadow of transcendence is Maya. Transcendence has a shadow. Therefore, Yoga Maya is not part of that shadow, because Yogamaya is active in Krishna's pastimes. Yogamaya does so many activities to enhance. It's Yogamaya who arranges for Radha and Krishna not to be married. Radha and Krishna were going to be married. Everyone in Braj wants Radha and Krishna to be married. They all worship this divine couple. But Yogamaya, she does the reading, astrology reading, and says if these two marry, one of them must die. So immediately all the Brijbasis accept they can't marry. So she's arranging for this Parakiya Ras, which reigns splendidly, more potent than the Swakiya Ras. Swakiya is the marital relationship. But the Parakiya relationship, which specifically Mahaprabhu is come to substantiate and give authenticity to. Because in this world, a Parakiya relationship is abominable. This is the lowest. So how can respectable Vaishnavas accept that Krishna, he has a Parakiya relationship with millions of men's wives? How can, a respectable Vaishnava accept this? They can't. But when Mahaprabhu comes, and by his teachings, we learn the nature that these gopis, they're all Krishna's eternal Shaktis. In fact, Maya Shakti is only a name for the transformation, vikar, of Bhagavan's Parashakti. Gora, turn that fan off. It is not a separate, independent Shakti. It's not a separate, independent Shakti. Maya is the sole cause of the jiva's bondage and liberation. Maya is the sole cause of the jiva's bondage. That was the one I wanted to turn off. You can keep these ones on. These ones aren't affecting me. But turn that off. Maya is the sole cause of the jiva's bondage and liberation. Maya actually doesn't affect us in a sense. She can't affect us at all. She can influence us and attract us, but it is our independence that we embrace her or not. I have a choice to turn the video on or turn it off. The choice is in my hand. She doesn't control me. She doesn't have the power to control my energy. She's inferior to my energy, but she can attract me where I come under her covering, this avaranatmika or prakakshatmika, and then she pulls me down to a lower state of consciousness where it seems that I'm being controlled by Maya because I'm following the direction of the illusory energy. But really and truly, she can't really control me. When the jiva becomes opposed to Krishna, Maya punishes him by throwing him into worldly bondage. So the throwing is the prakakshatmika. However, when the jiva becomes favorable to Krishna, the same Maya, well, it's not actually the same, it's Yogamaya, manifests the sattvic quality and gives him knowledge of Krishna. So actually, no, it's not Yogamaya, sattvic, it's Maya, because it's under the guna. But when you're in sattva gun, appreciate, you have a good chance to attain Shuddha sattva. It's like a springboard into the transcendental clean consciousness. It starts from sattva gun. So if you live a very sattvic life, this is very good. It's the springboard to the spiritual consciousness, to Shuddha sattva or Vishuddha sattva. Manifests the sattvic quality and gives him knowledge of Krishna. So Maya can arrange that, acting like Yogamaya. She then liberates him from worldly bondage and makes him qualified to attain love for Krishna. What is the worldly bondage? I'm not bound by anyone except my own desires. It's my own desires that are binding me, isn't it?
Yes.
We're walking around clanking these shackles, clank, clunk, clunk. and we're thinking, that I've been shackled. It's my choice. I have the key to undo them every time. Consequently, the jivas bound by the modes of Maya, cannot see the pure form of Maya, that is, the Swarup Shakti of Bhagavan, and they worship Maya alone as the primeval Shakti. So he's answering the question, why do the Tantrics call the Shiva potency Durga? Why are all these people, like in Bengal, this Durga Puja is the biggest puja in all the world. And they have millions, even more than at the Rath Yatra, come to attend the Durga Puja in Bengal. And from all over India, everyone comes, all the business people come. They all want to worship this illusory potency of Krishna to get some material benefit from it. This is why they're worshiping her. And they worship Maya alone as the primeval Shakti. The jivas are so covered in this age and dull, unless they're educated to know where the sweet bliss of seva, amala prem seva to Krishna is. Why will they bother to go that route unless someone kindly tells them what is the route? This is why the devotees, we have so much seva to do in the world, because people are so ignorant. And it is our duty to try and influence them towards the right direction, because they won't go otherwise. Why should they? The jiva is in the state of illusion. The jiva in the state of illusion can only realize these advanced philosophical truths by good fortune and by the power of Sukriti. That's very interesting. If you have the fortune to be influenced in a positive way towards pure activities, pious activities, if somehow or other you become attracted to go to the temple, somehow or other you become attracted to seek out those objects that are pure in the world, then Sukriti can develop. And from Sukriti, then Sadhu Sangha can manifest. Otherwise, being bewildered by Maya and entangled in false conclusions, he remains bereft of real knowledge. He's talking to these tantric brahmanas who are worshipping Durga Ma. Brajanath. In Gokul Upanishad, Durga Devi has been counted among Sri Hari's associates. Who is the Durga of Gokul? Nice question. Babaji, Durga of Gokul is none other than Yogamaya. She is situated as the seed of transformation of Chit Shakti. So when she is present in the spiritual world, she considers herself to be non-different from the Swarup Shakti. We understand that Sri Radhika is that representation of Yogamaya. All of these arrangements to please Krishna by not having, for example, as I just described, a Swakya relationship, but a Parakya relationship, is arranged by Yogamaya. It was arranged by Yogamaya that Lord Brahma should steal all the calves and cowherd boys. Why? So that actually during that time, Purnamasi declared, this is the best year for marriages. All of the young girls of Braj should be betrothed to these young boys who were actually all Krishna. So they all actually get betrothed to Krishna during that year. So they're all his eternal consorts. For example, so many aspects like that Yogamaya, she fulfills the desires of Radhika to please Krishna. The material Maya is only a transformation of that Yogamaya. Durga, situated in the material world, is an attendant maidservant of that Durga, of the Swarup Shakti in the spiritual world. She's an attendant maidservant of Yogamaya. What work is she doing? She's punishing those who are opposed to Krishna. The rascal who is opposed to Krishna needs punishment to come back in line. This is going to be described in the 16th chapter. Without the rod of chastisement, people will just keep going on the way they're going, thinking everything's fine. That's why karmic reactions happen. That's why all kinds of suffering we endure in life. And sometimes the closer you get to Krishna, it seems like the more suffering you can be experiencing, because Krishna wants you to drop everything completely. So these sufferings go like a good mother. She won't just allow the child just to do anything she wants. She'll chastise the child so that the child can be behaved and civilized. Otherwise, the child will just be unruly and be objectionable in society and so on. Prabhupada gives an example, when a very small baby wants to touch the fire, the mother, she takes the hand of the child and puts it in the fire. Wow! So it burns for life. The child will never put the hand in the fire, rest of life. So sometimes the punishment is a very, very, very good thing for the child. It brings the child to its higher state of consciousness. If the child is just left to act like an unkept animal, then the child it won't be happy, because it'll be indicative that the parents don't really love it. They're not actually training it properly or training the child. And Kali Yuga is very much like that. Many of the parents in Kali Yuga are terrified of their children. They don't have the confidence of their own path to actually share it with the child. Traditionally, parents seem to be able to do that. But many times today, parents are not like that. I've seen. The material Maya is only a transformation of that Yoga Maya. Durga, situated in the material world, is an attendant maidservant of that Durga, of the Swarup Shakti, in the spiritual world. The Durga of the Swarup Shakti is Lila Poshana Shakti, the potency that nourishes Krishna's pastimes. This is Yoga Maya. This is Radhika. Radhika is nourishing Krishna's pastimes. The gopis who have taken complete shelter of the Parakiya Bhav, paramour mood, bestowed by Yoga Maya, that's what I just explained before, nourish Krishna's rasa vilas in the spiritual world. The purport of the statement Yogamayam Upashrita, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29:1, about the Rasa Lila is that there are many such activities in Krishna's transcendental pastimes that appear like ignorance due to the Swarup Shakti, but factually they are not. We see many of the pastimes in Krishna's Leelas, unless they're understood, like for example, Krishna stealing the gopis' clothes. The gopis were only about 3 years old, 4 years old. Krishna himself is only about 4 or 5 years old. There's nothing, it's not like a Kama Leela. It's a totally Rasik Leela. But people who haven't heard it correctly, or it's been sensationalized in the wrong way to try and attract the lower state of consciousness, are going to get the wrong impression. It's the most beautiful, powerful Leela, and there's nothing karmic about it. It's absolutely beautiful. So many Leelas of Krishna, just like the Rasa Leela itself. Krishna actually, he's only 7 years old, 8 years old. Of course, he manifests his Kishore age during the Rasa Leela. But still, the attraction between them is so pure, nirmala, it's described, because their intentions are completely pure, just to please each other to the highest degree. So there's nothing untoward, there's nothing problematic with their relationships at all. About the Ras Leela is that there are many such activities as Krishna's transcendental pastimes that appear like ignorance due to the Swarup Shakti, but factually they are not. That's to keep them confidential. In order to nourish Maharas, Yogamaya stages activities that appear to be performed in ignorance. We will analyze this subject in detail later on when we discuss rasa. So now we're discussing rasa tattva, but when we discuss rasa, we'll discuss this point. So I'm not going to jump ahead of Bhaktivinoda Thakur here, and we'll just leave it there. Brajanath, there is one thing that I wish to know concerning Dham Tattva. Kindly tell me, why do the Vaishnavas refer to Navadvip as Sri Dham? So now it's a slightly different topic. Babaji, Sri Navadvip Dham and Sri Vrindavan Dham are non-different from each other. And Mayapur is the highest truth within Navadvip Dham. The relationship of Sri Mayapur to Navadvip is the same as the relationship of Sri Gokul to Braj. Mayapur is the Mahayogpit, the great place of meeting of Navadvip. According to the shloka, Chana Kalo of Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.38, the plenary avatar of Bhagavan who appears in Kali Yuga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is covered, and similarly, his holy abodes are also covered. In Kali Yuga, no other holy place is equal to Sri Navadvip. Only one who can realize the transcendental nature of this Dham is actually qualified for Brajaras. From an external material point of view, both Brajadham and Navadvip Dham appear to be mundane. Only those whose spiritual eyes have by some good fortune been opened can see the Dham as it is. So Vrindavan Dham and Navadvip Dham are the same. But actually it's described that if you dive into the Ganga and then you come into the Jamuna, this is actually the correct vision to know the platform. How can we appreciate Vrindavan Dham without the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? We cannot. We will become like sahajiyas. We will look for our own pleasure rather than serving the divine couple, or try to take pleasure from the divine couple's pastimes rather than serve the divine couple. There's a big difference. But if we know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and we know his truths which are being described here, then we can enter confidently into Vrindavan Dham. Rajanath, I want to know the Swarup of this Navadvip Dham. Babaji, we're still talking Rasa Tattva here, by the way. This is still Rasa Tattva. Babaji, Golok, Vrindavan, and Svetadvip are the inner compartments of Paravyoma, the spiritual sky. Sri Krishna's Swakiya Leela takes place in Golok. His Parakiya takes place in Vrindavan. And its Parishist, supplementary Leelas, take place in Svetadvip. Actually, it's Mahaprabhu's Leelas that take place in Svetadvip. That's the place where Mahaprabhu's Leelas are performed. In Tattva, there is no difference between these three dhams. Navadvip is really Svetadvip, so it is non-different from Vrindavan. The residents of Navadvip are very fortunate, for they are associates of Sri Gaurangadev. One can only attain residence of Navadvip after performing many pious activities. Some rasa is not manifest in Vrindavan, but that very rasa is manifest in Navadvip as the supplement of Vrindavan ras. One experiences that ras only when one becomes competent to relish it. So these rasas, Krishna's pastimes are complete, and Navadvip pastimes are more complete, because Krishna could not experience the same degree of bliss that Sri Radhika was experiencing in her Madanakya Mahabhav in Braj. But in Navadvip, he can experience that. So therefore, there's some extra. It's called Parishista. He's just saying here, this Parishista, supplementary. There is something extra in Navadvip Dham for the qualified sadhak to focus on and to incorporate into his bhajan. The area of Sri Navadvip Dham is 16 kroshas. Oh, Brajana, how large is Navadvip Dham? The area of Navadvip Dham is 16 kroshas and is shaped like that of a lotus flower with 8 petals. which are the 8 islands: Simantadweep, Godrundweep, Madhyadweep, Koladweep, Ritudweep, Janadweep, Motrundweep, and Rudradweep. Antardweep, which is situated in the center of these islands, is like the whorl of a lotus flower, and Sri Mayapur is situated at the very heart of this Antardweep. One can quickly attain love of Krishna by performing sadhan bhajan in Navadweep Dham, and especially in Mayapur. The Mahayogpit, the residence or mandir of Sri Jagannath Mishra, is situated in the center of Mayapur. And in this way, and in this very Yogpit, the most fortunate of all jivas always take darshan of Sri Gaurangadev's Nitya Leela. This is how powerful it is to reside in Navadvip, especially in Mayapur, especially visiting the Yogpit. Brajanath, are the pastimes of Sri Gaurangadev a work of Swarup Shakti? Really interesting question. Babaji, Sri Gaura's pastimes are arranged by the same Shakti who arranges Sri Krishna's pastimes. There is no difference between Sri Krishna and Gaurangadev. Sri Swarup Goswami has said,
Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shaktir Asmad Ekatmanav Api Bhuvi Pura Devbhedam Gatau Tau Chaitanyakyam Prakatam Adhuna Tad Dvayam Chaikyam Apatam Radha Bhav Dyuti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam.
so this is, yeah.
Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela 1.5.
So there's 2 verses here. The 5 and 6th verse, both given to us by Swarup Damodar, explaining the ontological position of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritya, he's one. Radha and Krishna are one. Radha and Krishna are intrinsically one. However, they are manifest eternally in 2 forms, through the influence of Hladini Shakti in the forms of their pranaya vikar. Pranaya vikar means their loving transformations. Vikar means transformation. Pranaya means loving. Because of the eternality of their pastimes, Vilas Tattva, now these 2 tattvas are manifest in one Swarup, in the form of Chaitanya Tattva. Therefore, I bow down to this Swarup of Krishna that is endowed with the loving sentiments and luster of Srimati Radhika. Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are both eternally manifest. It cannot be determined which of them came earlier and who came later. First, Chaitanya was there, and then Radha and Krishna manifest. And now they have merged together again and appeared in the form of Chaitanya Dev. So we must understand that Mahaprabhu is directly Krishna, but he's with the Bhav and Kanti of Sri Radhika. Mahaprabhu is always Krishna. He doesn't change his identity, but he's taken the Bhav and Kanti of Sri Radhika in order to taste that Madanakya Mahabhav. The understanding of this statement is not that one of them existed earlier and the other appeared later. Both manifestations are eternal. Again, this is a chintya for the conditioned soul. We can't understand eternality at all. We have never had any experience of anything in this world that is eternal. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We've had no experience of what is eternal. That's why it's very difficult for us to understand Jiva Tattva. The Jiva is eternal, but it's very difficult for us to understand the Tattva of that, because we have no experience of eternality in this conditioned state. Everything disintegrates. Our bodies are going to disintegrate. Everything around us in 100 years' time, nothing of this will be here. We won't be here. Nothing will be here. So that means we're only connecting with the temporary. We can only connect with the eternal when we reach that stage of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. Then we can come in touch a little bit with the eternal current, the powerful present. The understanding of this statement is not that one of them existed earlier and the other appeared later. Both manifestations are eternal. They are present for all time and will exist for all time. All the pastimes of the Supreme Truth are eternal. Those who think that one of these pastimes is principal and the other is secondary are ignorant of the truth and devoid of rasa. So I think I'm going to stop it on that beautiful note to appreciate the reality between Krishna's Leela and Mahaprabhu's Leela. Both are eternal. And that means they have never not been in existence. And for us to appreciate those, we must reach that eternal state of consciousness. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes a very beautiful poem. Forget the past that sleeps, and ne'er the future, dream at all, but be with times that are with thee, and progress thou shalt call. Which means if we try to move into the powerful present, we at least become a little bit aware of the nature of eternality. Because this is the nature of eternality. It's only the powerful present that is really existing. Everything else in future is a dream, and everything else in the past is a memory. It doesn't actually exist, but we try and depend on our memories for our identity. We depend on our future plans for our enthusiasm, and we skip the powerful present, which is really the most important point in our lives, is now, here and now. So that poem reflects that of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So I'm just going to read this question for Brajanath for you to think about. If Sri Gauranga Dev is directly the complete plenary truth, what then is the process for his worship? So now, for the next few pages, Babaji will explain that verse. So very, very beautiful. Thank you, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, for such beautiful descriptions. Jai, Jaiva Dharma ki Jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Varigya ki Jai. Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.